The vast chamber of the Imperial Galactic Council buzzed with the usual cacophony of 1,000 alien species discussing the fate of countless worlds. Holographic displays flickered, showing star systems, trade routes, and the ever-expanding borders of the Empire. At the center of it all, High Counselor Zix, a towering insectoid with iridescent wings, called for silence with a resounding click of his mandibles. Esteemed colleagues, Zix's voice reverberated through the chamber. We have received an interesting transmission from the outer reaches of Sector 9. The chamber fell silent as a crackling audio file began to play. Strange rhythmic sounds filled the air, accompanied by a gravelly voice. I see a bad moon rising. I see trouble on the way. Confused murmurs rippled through the assembly. An avian counselor ruffled her feathers in agitation. What manner of communication is this? Zix's compound eyes glimmered with amusement. This, my friends, is what the primitive species of planet E3 in System Sol call music. Specifically, a transmission of a classic rock song that has been traveling through space for nearly 3 centuries. Laughter erupted from various corners of the chamber. A gelatinous being burbled. Are we to be concerned with a species that still relies on radio waves for entertainment? Hardly. Zix clicked, mandibles forming what passed for a smile in his species. But as is our protocol, we must investigate any newly discovered intelligent life. I propose we send a single scout ship to assess this. Earth. The motion passed without objection, most counselors already turning their attention to more pressing matters. Little did they know that this casual decision would set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of their empire. Aboard the Imperial scout ship, Whisper of Stars, Captain Krelox stretched his tentacles in boredom. The small vessel had been traveling for weeks, its advanced warp drive bringing it ever closer to the unremarkable yellow star that the primitives of E3 called their sun. Status report. Krelox gurgled to his navigation officer. We are approaching the outer reaches of the system, Captain. Curious. There seems to be a lot of space debris and artificial satellites orbiting the 6th planet. Krelox slithered to the view screen. Indeed, the gas giant they were passing was surrounded by a complex network of what appeared to be primitive monitoring stations. Interesting, he mused. Perhaps these Earth creatures are not as backward as we thought. Still, nothing our technology can't handle. As they moved inward through the system, the crew of the Whisper of Stars cataloged more curiosities. The 4th planet showed signs of early terraforming attempts. The asteroid belt between the 4th and 5th planets seemed oddly organized. Captain, the sensor operator called out, her eye stalks quivering with excitement. I'm detecting an unusual energy signature from one of the larger asteroids. Krelox felt a tingle of anticipation ripple through his tentacles. Move in for a closer look. Maintain stealth protocols. The Whisper of Stars glided silently through the asteroid field, its cloaking technology rendering it invisible to any primitive sensors the Earth creatures might possess. As they approached the asteroid in question, the energy readings spiked. By the Emperor's tentacles, Krelox whispered, What is? His words were cut short as a blinding flash erupted from the asteroid. In the split second before oblivion, Krelox saw the impossible. The asteroid had opened like a massive clamshell, revealing a sleek, predatory vessel unlike anything in the Imperial database. The Whisper of Stars, pride of Imperial stealth technology, vanished in a silent explosion, leaving behind nothing but a quickly dissipating cloud of exotic particles. Back in the Imperial capital, High Counselor Zix was midway through his sleep cycle when an urgent communication roused him. High Counselor, the flustered aide buzzed, we've lost contact with the Whisper of Stars. Zix's antennae twitched in annoyance. Equipment malfunction, no doubt. These long-range missions are always problematic. But sir, the aide insisted, the last data burst we received. It doesn't make sense. The energy readings. Enough, Zix interrupted. Send a message to Naval Command. Have them dispatch a small task force to E3. A show of force should be sufficient to bring these primitives into the fold. As the aide scurried away, Zig-Zag settled back into his resting pod. His last thought before drifting off was of the strange Earth music. A bad moon rising, indeed. How quaint. How utterly inconsequential. In the vast tapestry of the cosmos, the Galactic Empire had just pulled on a loose thread. Soon, their entire carefully woven structure would begin to unravel, all because they had gravely underestimated a small blue planet and its resourceful inhabitants. Deep within the hollowed-out asteroid Ceres, Admiral Yara Chen stood before a wall-sized tactical display, her weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow. The room buzzed with activity as officers and technicians monitored Earth's vast network of disguised sensors and weapons platforms. "Status report on Operation Trojan Horse," Chen commanded, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. A young lieutenant stepped forward, tablet in hand. "All systems are green, Admiral. Our satellite disguises are holding." The Empire's scout ship took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Chen allowed herself a small smile. "And the Thunderchild?" "Primed and ready, Admiral. Captain Okonkwo reports all systems are optimal. They're eager to stretch their legs." Chen nodded, her mind drifting back to that fateful day, decades ago, when everything changed. July 7, 1947. Roswell, New Mexico. The night was thick with the smell of burnt metal and strange, acrid chemicals. Major Jesse Marcel crouched beside the twisted wreckage, his flashlight beam revealing technology beyond his wildest imagination. But it wasn't the shattered hull or the pulsing power core that held his attention. It was the datapad, miraculously intact, displaying star charts and ship schematics in an alien language. As government vehicles swarmed the crash site, Marcel made a split-second decision that would alter the course of human history. He slipped the datapad into his jacket, determined that this knowledge wouldn't disappear into some shadowy government vault. Back in the present, Admiral Chen's reminiscing was interrupted by a priority alert. "Admiral," called out her XO, Commander Ravi Sharma, "we're detecting a gravitational anomaly at the edge of the solar system. It matches the signature of Imperial warp drives." Chen's eyes narrowed. "So they've sent more than just a scout. Looks like our little surprise party worked a bit too well." She turned to address the command center. "Initiate Phase 2. Let's show these alien bastards what humanity's been cooking up for the past 77 years. Across the solar system, disguised satellites began to shift and transform. Solar panels retracted, revealing weapon ports. Innocuous weather balloons in Earth's upper atmosphere shed their coverings, metamorphosing into advanced electronic warfare platforms. On the far side of the moon, a sprawling base shimmered into existence as its cloaking field deactivated. Within minutes, Earth's true defensive network stood revealed, a testament to decades of reverse-engineered alien technology and human ingenuity. "Send the coded activation signal," Chen ordered. "It's time to wake up our sleeping giants." In suburban areas, corporate parks, and nondescript warehouses around the globe, the ground began to tremble. Massive hangar doors, camouflaged as everything from football fields to parking lots, slowly opened. From these hidden bases rose Earth's secret fleet, sleek, predatory ships that melded alien tech with human design philosophy. In orbit, the International Space Station, long thought to be a scientific outpost, began to change. Modules separated and reformed, additional sections emerging from hidden compartments. Within moments, the ISS had transformed into a fully armed and operational battle station, ready to coordinate Earth's orbital defenses. Back in the Cirrus Command Center, Admiral Chen watched as the tactical display came alive with friendly signatures. A small icon caught her eye, a destroyer-class vessel emerging from its asteroid hiding place. "Thunderchild is away," reported Commander Sharma. "Captain Okonkwo sends his regards and says, and I quote, 'It's time to kick some alien ass.'" Chen chuckled. Remind the good captain that we're not here to start a war. We're here to end one before it begins." Her expression turned serious as she addressed her staff. "The next few hours will determine the fate of our species. Everything we've worked for, every sacrifice made since Roswell, has led to this moment." She paused, looking each officer in the eye. "The Empire thinks they're here to subjugate a primitive world. Instead, they're going to meet the full might of a humanity united, armed with their own technology turned against them. We are Earth's last line of defense. And by God, we will not fail." A chorus of "Yes, sir," echoed through the command center. As reports flooded in of Imperial ships entering the solar system, Admiral Chen stood tall, her voice steady. "Battle stations, everyone. Let's show the galaxy why you don't mess with Earth." The klaxons began to blare, and humanity prepared to reveal its greatest deception and its greatest strength to an unsuspecting universe. The Imperial Task Force Unyielding Fist dropped out of warp at the edge of the Sol system, a fleet of sleek, biomechanical ships that seemed to absorb rather than reflect the distant sunlight. At its center, the massive dreadnought, Emperor's Will, dwarfed its escort vessels, its hull adorned with the trophies of 1,000 conquered worlds. On the bridge, Fleet Commander Zorax stretched his tentacles in anticipation, compound eyes gleaming as he surveyed the holographic display of the system. "Status report," he chittered to his second-in-command. Sub-Commander Vexala's exoskeleton clacked as she saluted. "All ships reporting optimal status, Commander. Scans of the system match our database. Primitive satellites in orbit around the third and fourth planets, some rudimentary space stations, nothing that poses a threat." Zorax's mandibles clicked in amusement. "These humans don't even know we're here. Prepare the standard subjugation package. Let's show them the might of the Empire and give them a chance to surrender before we need to get messy." As the fleet began its approach towards Earth, Imperial technicians worked to penetrate the planet's primitive communications networks. Within minutes, they had access to thousands of television and radio channels, internet streams, and satellite feeds. Zorax surveyed the flood of information with disdain. "Look at them," Vexala, squabbling over resources, divided by imaginary lines on their planet. "They'll be begging for our leadership once we show them true civilization." Vexala's antennae twitched nervously. "Commander, I've been analyzing their entertainment broadcasts. Many of them depict scenarios of alien invasion. Some even showcase humanity successfully repelling such attacks." The fleet commander's laughter filled the bridge. "How charmingly naive. Prepare the holographic projectors. Let's give them a show they'll never forget." In Times Square, New York City, the usual cacophony of traffic and tourists fell silent as the sky itself seemed to tear open. A massive holographic projection flickered to life, showcasing the Imperial fleet in all its terrifying glory. Similar scenes play out in major cities across the globe. Zorax's visage, alien and imperious, loomed over the stunned crowds. His voice, translated into every major Earth language, boomed across the planet. "People of Earth, I am Fleet Commander Zorax of the Galactic Empire. Your planet now falls under our protection and rule. Resistance is not only futile but unnecessary. Accept our dominion, and you shall benefit from the wealth and knowledge of 1,000,000 worlds. Reject our generous offer, and, well, let us show you." The holographic display shifted, showing a barren, crater-pocked world. This was the planet Altair IV. They chose poorly. Panic erupted in cities worldwide. Emergency sirens wailed as governments scrambled to respond to the unprecedented threat. In the Oval Office, President Elena Ramirez sat surrounded by her top military advisors, her face a mask of grim determination. "Madam President," General Williams began, "our missile silos are armed and ready. We can launch a full nuclear strike within." Ramirez raised a hand, silencing him. "And what good would that do against a fleet that can traverse galaxies, General? No, we have a different plan." She turned to a nondescript man in the corner, who had been silent throughout the briefing. Dr. Okoro, I believe it's time. Dr. Okoro nodded and pressed a button on his watch. Admiral Chen, you have a go. Operation Trojan Horse is now active. Back on the Imperial flagship, Zorax was practically giddy with the humans' response. Panicked news broadcasts, military jets scrambling only to turn back helplessly, politicians making empty threats. It was all so predictable. Commander, Vexela interrupted his musings. We're detecting some anomalous readings from the planet's moon. Zorax waved a tentacle dismissively. Probably some pitiful attempt at a secret weapon. Let them have their hope for a few more moments. Prepare the pacification beams. As the Imperial fleet moved into position around Earth, their sensors focused on the obvious threats. Military bases, government buildings, and known weapon stockpiles. They paid little attention to the seemingly harmless satellites and space debris that had begun to move in subtle, deliberate patterns. Zorax raised his command tentacle, ready to give the order that would bring yet another world under Imperial control. Let the subjugation of Earth begin. His words were cut short as proximity alarms blared across the fleet. From behind the moon, emerging from hidden bases on its dark side, came a swarm of ships that by all rights shouldn't exist. And at their head, a destroyer-class vessel that made even Zorax's alien blood run cold. The Empire's invasion of Earth had begun, but it was about to take a turn that no one, least of all the overconfident Zorax, could have predicted. The bridge of the EDS Thunderchild hummed with tension as Captain Kwesi Okonkwo watched the Imperial fleet through the ship's advanced holographic display. His dark eyes narrowed, taking in the biomechanical monstrosities that threatened his homeworld. Status report, Okonkwo commanded, his deep voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, no relation to the Admiral, but every bit as competent, responded crisply. All systems optimal, Captain. Gravity drive at 100%, weapons hot, and stealth systems engage. The rest of the fleet is in position and awaiting your order. Okonkwo nodded, a grim smile playing on his lips. Then let's introduce ourselves to our uninvited guests. Helm, take us in. Weapons, prepare to fire on my mark. The Thunderchild glided silently through space, its advanced stealth technology, a hybrid of reverse-engineered alien tech and human innovation, rendering it invisible to Imperial sensors. As they approached the enemy fleet, Okonkwo couldn't help but feel a sense of irony. The Empire had come expecting to find a primitive world, ripe for conquest. Instead, they were about to face the culmination of nearly 8 decades of human preparation and ingenuity. Aboard the Imperial flagship, chaos reigned. Alarms blared as sensor operators frantically tried to make sense of the sudden appearance of an advanced alien fleet where none should exist. Impossible. Fleet Commander Zorax bellowed, his tentacles writhing in agitation. Where did these ships come from? Why didn't we detect them earlier? Sub-Commander Vexala's exoskeleton paled, a sign of extreme stress in her species. Unknown, Commander. Their technology. It's like nothing we've ever encountered. It's as if they appeared out of nowhere. Zorax's compound eyes narrowed as he focused on the approaching destroyer. It was sleek, predatory, and unmistakably built for war. But what truly chilled him was the realization that its design incorporated elements of Imperial technology. Technology that should be far beyond this primitive world's grasp. All ships, battle formations. Zorax commanded. Prepare tow. His orders were cut short as a blinding flash erupted from the Thunderchild. Gravity lance. Fire. Okonkwo's command was followed by an eerie silence as the Thunderchild's main weapon discharged. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself appeared to warp around one of the Imperial cruisers. The massive ship contorted, its hull buckling under immense gravitational forces. In a matter of seconds, the cruiser imploded, collapsing into a ball of ultra-dense matter no larger than a beach ball. The bridge crew of the Thunderchild erupted in cheers, but Okonkwo remained focused. Impressive. But let's not get cocky. This fight's just started. All ships, engage at will. Show them what Earth can do. Across the solar system, Earth's hidden fleet sprang into action. Satellites transformed into weapon platforms, firing salvos of gravity-altering missiles. The ISS, now a fully armed battle station, coordinated the planet's orbital defenses, its AI systems predicting and countering Imperial tactics faster than any human could. From the asteroid belt, mining ships shed their innocuous disguises, revealing themselves as heavily armed corvettes. They swarmed the Imperial fleet's flanks, their unconventional weapons wreaking havoc on the aliens' biomechanical hulls. But it was the Thunderchild that truly stole the show. The destroyer danced through the battlefield, its gravity drive allowing it to perform maneuvers that defied conventional physics. One moment it was facing down an Imperial dreadnought. The next it had somehow appeared behind the massive ship, unleashing a barrage of weapons that overwhelmed its defenses. On Earth, billions watched the battle unfold through hastily repurposed civilian telescopes and commandeered military feeds. In Times Square, the very screens that had displayed Zorax's threatening message now showed humanity's finest hour. Cheers erupted from the crowds as they witnessed their hidden defenders taking the fight to the invaders. Back on the Imperial flagship, Zorax watched in horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled by forces he couldn't comprehend. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds were being swatted aside like insects. "This is impossible," he muttered, his earlier bravado evaporating. "They're savages, primitives. How can they possess such technology?" As if in answer to his question, the Thunderchild appeared directly in front of the Imperial flagship, its massive form filling the view screen. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as Zorax locked eyes with Captain Okonkwo. In that instant, the alien commander realized the magnitude of the Empire's mistake. They had come expecting an easy conquest, a primitive world to be added to their collection. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant, one that had spent decades preparing for this very moment. The Thunderchild's weapons powered up, promising an end to Imperial ambitions in the Sol system. As Zorax braced for impact, one thought echoed through his alien mind. The Empire had gravely underestimated Earth's fleet until they encountered a destroyer. The Grand Imperial Palace on Coruscant Prime glittered like a jewel against the planet's twilight sky, its crystalline spires reaching towards the stars. Within its most secure chamber, Emperor Etizox, supreme ruler of the Galactic Empire, raged at the holographic display before him. "Impossible," the Emperor's voice boomed, his chitinous exoskeleton bristling with fury. "How could a primitive backwater world do this to our fleet?" High Counselor Zixix cowered before his ruler's wrath. "Your Imperial Majesty, we don't understand it ourselves. The reports from Commander Zorax are fragmented, but they speak of technology that rivals or even surpasses our own." The Emperor's compound eyes narrowed. "And what of Zorax? What does the fool have to say for himself?" Zixix's antennae drooped. "We've lost contact with the flagship, Your Majesty. The last transmission showed a terrifying vessel. The humans call it Thunderchild. About to engage them directly." Emperor Etizox's mandibles clicked in agitation. "This is unprecedented. In 10,000 cycles, no world has ever repelled an Imperial invasion." He turned to his war council, each member representing a different conquered species. Opinions. A serpentine being uncoiled itself, speaking in sibilant tones. Perhaps we should send diplomats. If these humans possess such technology, they could be valuable allies rather than subjects." "Coward," spat a hulking, fur-covered creature. "We must crush them utterly. Send the entire Imperial Armada if we must, but Earth must burn for this insult." As the council devolved into heated debate, a small, previously silent figure stepped forward. Grand Admiral Kinley, one of the few humans who had pledged allegiance to the Empire centuries ago, when it first encountered Earth's early colonies, cleared her throat. "Your Majesty." Kinley's voice was soft, but carried undeniable authority, if I may offer a perspective. The Emperor waved a clawed appendage, granting permission. I've studied my ancestral homeworld extensively. If these humans have indeed managed to reverse engineer and improve upon our technology, a full frontal assault would be unwise. Qin Li's eyes gleamed with a mix of admiration and concern. Humanity's greatest strength has always been its adaptability and ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds. The more we throw at them, the more they'll learn, and the stronger they'll become. Emperor Exlizox considered her words. What do you propose, Admiral? Qin Li allowed herself a small smile. A multi-pronged approach. We mobilize the Armada, yes, but not just as a blunt instrument. We need subterfuge, psychological warfare, and a secret weapon. The Emperor leaned forward, intrigued. Go on. Back on Earth, the initial euphoria of victory was quickly tempered by the realization that this was only the beginning. In the White House Situation Room, President Ramirez convened an emergency meeting of global leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, Ramirez addressed the assembled holographic figures, each representing a major world power. We've won the battle, but the war is far from over. Admiral Chen, your report. Admiral Yura Chen's hologram nodded grimly. Madam President, world leaders, our victory was decisive but costly. We've lost a third of our fleet, and the Thunderchild, while still operational, has sustained heavy damage. Captain Okonkwo reports that their main gravity drive is offline. The Russian president leaned forward. But surely the Empire will think twice before attacking again, duh. They've seen what we can do. Chen shook her head. On the contrary, sir, our intelligence suggests the Empire is mobilizing on a scale we've never seen before. They're coming back, and this time they'll be prepared for us. A murmur of concern rippled through the assembly. The Chinese premier spoke up, her voice steady. What are our options, Admiral? We have three primary concerns, Chen replied. First, rebuilding and expanding our fleet. Second, strengthening our planetary defenses. And third, she paused, her expression grave, preparing for the possibility of ground invasion. President Ramirez stood, her posture resolute. We've kept ourselves divided for too long, squabbling over petty differences while this threat loomed. No more. As of this moment, I am proposing the formation of a United Earth Defense Council. We must pool our resources, our technology, and our best minds if we're to survive what's coming. The assembly erupted in a mix of agreement and debate, but the tide of opinion was clear. Humanity, faced with an existential threat, was uniting as never before. Light years away on a secret Imperial base, Grand Admiral Qin Li stood before a massive stasis chamber. Inside, a humanoid figure floated in suspension, its body a hybrid of flesh and machine. Soon, my friend, Qin Li whispered, placing a hand on the cold surface. Soon you'll return home and show Earth the true meaning of power. As klaxons blared, announcing the mobilization of the Imperial Armada, Qin Li allowed herself a moment of reflection. The Empire had indeed underestimated Earth's fleet, but humanity's trials were far from over. The real test was yet to come. The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of light as the Imperial Armada dropped out of warp. Thousands of ships, from nimble fighters to city-sized dreadnoughts, filled the space around Pluto's orbit. At the center of this vast fleet, the Emperor's personal flagship, Eternal Dominion, dwarfed even the largest vessels around it. On its bridge, Emperor Xizox's eyes gleamed with anticipation. Let the humans witness the full might of our empire. Begin the advance. Grand Admiral Qin Li stood at attention beside the Emperor, her face an expressionless mask. Your Majesty, perhaps we should open with our psychological warfare strategy. Give them one last chance to surrender before. No, Xizox chittered angrily. They've humiliated us once. There will be no mercy. As the Armada began its inexorable push towards Earth, Qin Li's hand discreetly tapped a sequence on her wrist computer. Somewhere in the depths of the flagship, a stasis pod began its wake-up sequence. In the Cheyenne Mountain complex, now serving as Earth's unified defense headquarters, alarms blared. Admiral Yara Chen rushed into the control room, her eyes widening at the holographic display of the solar system. "Status report," she barked. A young officer, his face pale, responded, "Admiral, long-range sensors have detected a massive Imperial fleet. They outnumber us at least 20 to 1. Chen's jaw tightened. "Alert all commands. This is not a drill. Initiate Operation Scattered Shield." Across the solar system, humanity's defenses sprang to life. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn revealed hidden bases, launching swarms of automated drone fighters. The asteroid belt lit up with energy signatures as mining outposts transformed into fortified weapon platforms. On Mars, massive cannons emerged from the red sands, aimed at the approaching armada. Aboard the Thunderchild, newly repaired and upgraded, Captain Okonkwo addressed his crew. "Men and women of Earth, the moment we've prepared for is here. We are outnumbered, yes, but not outmatched. Remember, each of you carries the hopes and dreams of billions. Let's show these aliens what humanity is truly capable of." A cheer went up as the Thunderchild's engines flared to life, leading Earth's main fleet out from behind the moon's protective shadow. The battle erupted across the entire solar system. Imperial forces, expecting an easy victory, were met with fierce resistance at every turn. Earth's gravity weapons played havoc with the enemy's formations, creating localized singularities that swallowed entire squadrons. Automated asteroids, guided by advanced AI, slammed into Imperial dreadnoughts with devastating effect. But the Empire's numbers were overwhelming. For every ship they lost, 10 more took its place. Slowly but surely, they pushed deeper into the system. In Earth orbit, the transformed International Space Station coordinated the planet's last line of defense. President Ramirez, who had refused evacuation, stood on its bridge, watching the battle unfold. "Madam President," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Imperial flagship." The main screen flickered to life, revealing Emperor Xazox's alien visage. "Humans," his translated voice boomed, "your resistance, while admirable, is futile. Surrender now, and we may yet show mercy." Ramirez straightened, her voice unwavering. "We will never surrender. Earth is our home, and we will defend it to our last breath." The Emperor's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Very well. Then witness the power that will be your doom." The transmission cut off abruptly. At that moment, near Jupiter, a massive Imperial vessel detached from the fleet. Its hull began to split open, revealing a weapon of terrifying proportions. "Energy buildup detected," shouted a sensor operator on the Thunderchild. It's like nothing we've ever seen." Captain Okonkwo's eyes narrowed. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Prepare for." His words were cut short as a beam of blinding energy lanced out from the Imperial superweapon. It struck Jupiter dead center, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, to the horror of every human watching, the giant planet began to collapse in on itself. In a matter of minutes, Jupiter, the solar system's largest planet and a linchpin of humanity's outer defense network, was reduced to a dense, burning core fraction of its original size. A stunned silence fell across the human fleet. The Empire had just destroyed a planet to demonstrate its power. Aboard the Thunderchild, Captain Okonkwo's hands gripped his command chair tightly. "All ships," he said, his voice thick with emotion but resolute, "fall back to Mars orbit. Prepare for our last stand." As Earth's battered fleet regrouped, the full weight of their situation became clear. The battle for Sol had taken a dire turn, and humanity's future hung by a thread. The red plains of Mars glowed an eerie orange as the combined fleets of Earth made their stand. The Thunderchild, battered but unbowed, took point position, its imposing silhouette a rallying symbol for the weary human forces. Inside the ship's war room, Captain Okonkwo stood before a holographic display of the solar system, his face etched with determination. Around him, a diverse group of Earth's brightest minds had assembled for one last, desperate strategy session. "The destruction of Jupiter has cost us dearly," Okonkwo began, his voice grave. "We've lost a significant portion of our outer defenses and mining operations. The Empire will be here within hours. Ideas, people. We need them now." Dr. Aisha Patel, a brilliant physicist from the Indian Space Research Organization, stepped forward. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data from the Imperial superweapon. There's something odd about it." All eyes turned to her as she manipulated the holographic display, zooming in on the remains of Jupiter. The weapon didn't just destroy Jupiter, it somehow compressed it, collapsing its mass into a hyperdense state. "The energy readings are off the charts." "Fascinating, Doctor," Okonkwo replied. "But how does this help us?" A spark lit up in Aisha's eyes. "What if we could turn their weapon against them? Use the gravitational anomaly they've created as a weapon of our own." The room erupted in a flurry of discussions and rapid calculations. Ideas bounced back and forth, each building on the last. For the first time since the battle began, hope flickered in the eyes of Earth's defenders. Aboard the Imperial flagship, Emperor HFY basked in the glow of impending victory. "See, Admiral Lai. This is the power of the Empire. These humans will be crushed, just like all who oppose us." Kin Lai nodded, her face impassive. "Indeed, Your Majesty. Shall we press the attack?" Before the Emperor could respond, a junior officer interrupted. "Your Majesty, we're detecting a massive energy surge from the human fleet." HFY's compound eyes narrowed. "Impossible. They have nothing that cooled." His words were cut short as space itself seemed to warp around them. The Imperial fleet, once in perfect formation, suddenly found itself being pulled in a dozen different directions. Back on the Thunderchild, Okonkwo watched in awe as their desperate plan unfolded. They had repurposed their gravity weapons, linking them in a complex network across the fleet. By tapping into the gravitational anomaly left by Jupiter's destruction, they had created a web of micro-singularities throughout the battlefield. "It's working," Dr. Patel exclaimed. "The Imperial ships are being torn apart by the gravitational shear." Okonkwo allowed himself a grim smile. "Excellent. Now for Phase 2. All ships, initiate Operation Trojan Horse." Across the human fleet, ships began to power down, appearing to drift lifelessly in space. To Imperial sensors, it looked as if the humans' last-ditch effort had burned out their systems. Emperor HFY chittered in triumph. "Ha! Their pathetic attempt has failed. Prepare boarding parties. We'll take their ships and technology for ourselves." Grand Admiral Kin Li's eyes widened in alarm. "Your Majesty, I advise caution. This seems too easy." But the Emperor was beyond listening. Blinded by the prospect of total victory, he gave the order to board the apparently defenseless human vessels. As Imperial shuttles approached the Thunderchild and other key ships, Okonkwo's voice crackled over a secure channel to all human vessels. "Remember your training. Let them in, then strike. For Earth." The moment the Imperial boarding parties breached the airlocks, they were met not with surrendering humans, but with an onslaught of holographic decoys and automated defense systems. The real crews, hidden in shielded compartments, launched their counterattack with brutal efficiency. On the Thunderchild, Okonkwo led a small team through the ship's service tunnels. Their destination, the Imperial shuttle now docked in their main hangar. "This is our chance," he told his team. "We get aboard that shuttle, we can infiltrate the Imperial flagship. We can end this war today." As they emerged into the hangar, they found themselves face to face with a squad of Imperial troops. For a moment, both sides froze in surprise. Then, with a war cry that echoed through the ship, Okonkwo and his team charged. The battle for humanity's survival had come down to this, a desperate gambit born of human ingenuity and courage. As Okonkwo fought his way towards the Imperial shuttle, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The Empire had underestimated humanity's fleet once before. Now they were about to learn the true cost of that mistake. The corridors of the Imperial flagship, Eternal Dominion, echoed with the sounds of battle. Alarms blared as Captain Okonkwo and his small team of Earth's finest soldiers fought their way towards the bridge. They had used the captured Imperial shuttle to infiltrate the massive vessel, and now the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. Status report. Okonkwo barked into his comm as he ducked behind a bulkhead, energy bolts sizzling past. "Sir," came the reply from the Thunderchild, "Operation Trojan Horse is in full effect. Our forces have retaken control of 60% of the boarded vessels. The Imperial fleet is in disarray." Okonkwo allowed himself a grim smile. "Excellent. Maintain pressure. We're almost at the bridge." As they rounded the final corner, they found themselves face to face with Grand Admiral Kinlai and a squad of elite Imperial guards. "Captain Okonkwo," Kinlai said, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. "I've been expecting you." Okonkwo raised his weapon. "Stand down, Admiral. This madness ends now." To everyone's surprise, Kinlai smiled. "Indeed it does, Captain, but not in the way you might think." In a fluid motion, she turned and fired her weapon, not at Okonkwo, but at the Imperial guards beside her. As confusion reigned, Kinlai quickly explained, "I've been working against the Emperor for years, waiting for the right moment. Your Earth, your humanity, you've proven yourselves worthy successors to the galaxy. Now, quickly, we must reach the Emperor before." Her words were cut short as the ship shuddered violently. "What was that?" Okonkwo demanded. Kinlai's face paled. "The Emperor's failsafe. He's initiated the self-destruct sequence. We have minutes before this ship tears itself apart and takes half the fleet with it." On Earth, in the transformed International Space Station, President Ramirez watched the unfolding battle with bated breath. Suddenly, a new alert blared. "Madam President," an officer called out, "we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the Imperial flagship. If it goes, it'll create a shockwave that could devastate Mars and potentially reach Earth." Ramirez's mind raced. They had come so far, sacrificed so much. She couldn't let it end like this. "Get me Captain Okonkwo. Now." On the Imperial flagship, Okonkwo, Kinlai, and their combined team fought their way onto the bridge. Emperor Exizok stood before a massive view screen, his alien features twisted in a mix of rage and despair. "You've ruined everything," the Emperor chittered. "If my empire falls, I'll ensure your world burns with it." As Okonkwo moved to apprehend the Emperor, his comm crackled to life. "Captain," came President Ramirez's voice, "you need to disable that self-destruct now. The fate of Earth depends on it." Kinlai rushed to the main control console. "The Emperor's locked us out. There's no way to stop it in time." Okonkwo's mind raced. Then his eyes fell on the Emperor's personal shuttle, docked to the bridge for easy escape. A plan formed. "Ramirez," he said into his comm, "have the Thunderchild lock a gravity tether on these coordinates. Lai, can you set this ship to make a short warp jump?" Both women quickly caught on to his plan. "It's risky," Kinlai warned, "but it might work." Okonkwo nodded grimly. "Do it." As the ship shuddered, on the verge of destruction, Okonkwo and his team secured the Emperor and boarded the escape shuttle. At the last possible second, the Thunderchild locked its gravity tether onto the shuttle. The flagship vanished in a flash of light, making a split-second warp jump that carried it millions of miles away from Earth and its allies. When it detonated, the explosion was visible as a new brief star in Earth's sky, a testament to the scale of the averted destruction. In the days that followed, the remnants of the Imperial fleet, learning of the Emperor's defeat, surrendered to Earth's forces. Kinlai, along with other alien allies who had long chafed under Imperial rule, helped negotiate a new galactic order, one where Earth and humanity would play a central role. As the Thunderchild docked with the International Space Station, now the seat of Earth's new government, Captain Okonkwo looked out at his home planet. The scars of battle were visible even from orbit, but so too was the indomitable spirit that had led humanity to victory. President Ramirez greeted him as he disembarked. "Captain, humanity owes you and your crew a debt we can never repay." Okonkwo shook his head. "We only did what anyone would have done, Madam President. The real question is, what now?" Ramirez smiled, gesturing to the viewport where ships of various alien designs were now peacefully docking alongside human vessels. "Now, Captain, we do what humanity does best. We adapt, we grow, and we reach for the stars, not as conquerors, but as explorers and peacekeepers." As Earth celebrated its victory and looked to a future filled with both challenges and unprecedented opportunities, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.